How's it going, everybody? C-RadTV back here with another video. So, of course, it's time for yet again another NFL draft preview for the 2020 NFL draft. So, in the last preview, we focused on the offensive line, one side of the trenches. So, it's only fair that now we focus on the other side of the trenches, the defensive line, where the game is truly won. So in this video, we're going to go over the top defensive lineman prospects and see how they fare and who the line should look at in this draft. So yeah, enough talk. Let's get this show on the road and get started. So starting off this video, the first player we're going to go over is the big fish in this pond of defensive lineman prospects. Of course, this is the one a lot of Lions fans want at pick number 3 if he falls there. Very unlikely he'll fall to 3, unless the Washington Redskins drink a shitload of mercury and take Tua at number 2. That is literally the only way, or unless someone trades up to 2 to draft Tua. But yeah, anyway, regardless, first, so this player here, hailing from the Ohio State University, standing 6'5", weighing 265 pounds, we have the one, the only, Chase motherfucking Young. Yes, I added that part in there, because he's that good. So yeah, Chase Young, what is there to say about him? He's your prototype pass rusher and defensive end. He gets to the quarterback very well. Can rush the passer, which is what the Lions truly need as a pass rusher. So, in terms of his strengths, he's about as complete of a college prospect as you'll find. Has prototypical tools, has a big sculpted frame, has long arms, outstanding athleticism. First step quickness is deadly, moves with incredible speed and fluidity for a man of his size, making him extremely slippery to block, can bend and turn the corner at an elite level, has the lateral quickness to redirect or spin inside when the tackle is overset outside. He also has terrific power in this game. He's a high-level technician. Shows great understanding of hand usage, has leverage in counters, even further weaponizing his tremendous physical skills. For all his production as a pass rusher, he's also been stellar against the run, uses power, length, and proper hand leverage to fight off blocks, or explosiveness to penetrate and engulf ball carriers for losses. His numbers are especially impressive, considering he saw repeated double and triple teams in his final season, and his efforts is off the charts. Like in 2017, he had 3.5 sacks and 6 tackles for losses in 10 games. In his following season, he had 10.5 sacks and 15.5 tackles for loss. And this season, he had 16.5 sacks and 21 tackles for loss, and 7 forced fumbles, even though he missed 2 games to an NCAA suspension because he accepted a loan. So yeah, the suspension there, that does raise a bit of a red flag there, which gets to our weaknesses. Other than that, though, Young overall, he can get a bit too high at times while coming out of his stance. So he's got to learn to get better at staying low. You don't always want to go high, especially against offensive linemen that lock on, because you will get burned that way. So that allows offensive linemen to drive him off the ball in the run game, or land square punches in protection. While he is an advanced technician, a lot of experts say he's still probably a half step behind both Joey and Nick Bosa when both of them came out of Ohio State. Chase, he can get over-eager at times. He jumps off sides when trying to time the snap. So he's got to get better at not taking offside penalties and learn at paying attention to the ball and not moving until the ball is snapped. So he has improved in that area. Of course, always room for improvement. While he could play in most schemes, he should be moving forward as much as possible. So they say his best fit is in a 4-3 defense. Now, I know for the Lions, they like to do more of a 3-4 defensive man front. I honestly think they should go back to a 4-3. I think 4-3 is more effective. Get as many pass rushers as you can out there. Because the trenches is truly where the game is won. For his NFL comparison, Chase Young has been compared to Chandler Jones of the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, there's a lot of check marks for Chase Young. A lot of people, though, aren't high on him because he had 3 bad games to end his college career, where he was a non-factor in a game against Michigan, a non-factor in a game against Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin, and the college semifinal game against Clemson. All I have to say is that, every player has their bad games. You have good games, you have bad games. It just so happened that Chase Young's stretch of bad games happened at the worst possible time. Like, he's gonna be an elite pass rusher in this league. It's just, can you overlook those issues and just look at the positives? Like, he checks off a lot of boxes. He fills a massive need the Lions need. It really depends on what the Redskins do. The Redskins should take him at 2, but there's always that chance he could fall at 3. I've said it here. If Chase Young falls to the Lions at 3, take him. Don't even think twice. So the next defensive lineman or defensive end we'll go over in this video. The next one we have here, hailing from the University of Iowa, standing 6'6", weighing 280 pounds, we have AJ Epineza. So AJ, he's your prototype run defense defensive end, so he's really good at stuffing the run. His strengths, AJ, he has outstanding size, tall, long, and thickly built. Also has quality speed and fluidity, enough to threaten the corner of offensive tackles. His strength is the core of his game. He can ragdoll offensive linemen both in the run game and in the pass rush, using his long arms and his heavy hands and his strong grip to deliver blows and control his counterpart. Technical skills are advanced. He shows a variety of hand swipes and counters and knows how to discard blocks. He sets up moves well, using stutters before going speed to power and incorporating chop ball moves to shorten the corner when he goes outside. His game fits in all 3 downs, and he brings versatility as a 4-3N and a 3-4N or an interior rusher in sub packages, so he fits any defensive line scheme. So he would fit the Lions' defensive scheme of 3-4. Like I said with Chase Young, I think the Lions need to go back to a 4-3. I think it's a lot better there. Chase Young, he can do it all. Overall in college, his first year in college, he had 4.5 sacks and 5.5 tackles for loss. 2018, he had 10.5 sacks and 16.5 tackles for loss. And this draft season, he had 11.5 sacks, 14.5 tackles for loss, 4 forced fumbles, and 3 batted passes. In terms of AJ's weaknesses, though, his speed, athleticism, and bend isn't elite, though. It lowers his ceiling somewhat, though. He's not always able to win outside of offensive tackles, whether because he isn't quick enough off the ball or can't bend enough to turn a corner. His frame provides a big target for offensive tackles to punch. Too often ends up being pushed past the quarterback or stymied without a second option. He might have to make his living primarily winning inside or going through blockers. Yeah, and the experts also say that teams that run 3-4 defenses will have to be comfortable with him playing inside, as he's not laterally mobile enough to be an outside linebacker. So even if AJ does go to inside linebacker or inside the defensive line, he can't go outside. So he's more of a run stuffer. Struggles really on the pass. For his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Cameron Jordan of the New Orleans Saints. I've seen a couple mock drafts say that AJ could fall to the Lions in the 2nd round. I don't think he's falling to the 2nd round. I think he's going to go 1st round. I do not see him falling in the 2nd. It would be amazing if he fell in the 2nd round. Then I'd say, hell yeah, take him. Take him. It really depends on what the Lions do in the 1st round. The draft is loaded with defensive linemen. AJ has a lot of potential, to stuff the run. He could be someone interesting to look at, depending on what the Lions do with the 3rd pick and if they get another 1st round pick and how far back they trade back. Really depends on that. So the next player we have here, hailing from LSU, standing 6'4", weighing 250 pounds, we have K'Lavon Chaisson. So yeah, K'Lavon, He is your prototype explosion defensive end, so he's really explosive off the snap. So in the strengths, like I just mentioned, lightning off the snap, deadly combination of snap anticipation, first step quickness, acceleration. Has an uncommon twitchiness and springiness to his movement, which he uses it to terrorize offensive tackles around the edge. Shows rare bursts of bendability. Doesn't just win with speed either. He shows some decent complement of moves on tape, including hand swipes, long arm stab, and speed to power bull rush. While he's not thickly built, he's very effective in the run game thanks to hand usage and instincts, as he consistently makes the right reads. He even brings surprising versatility as a cover man, which would help him if transitioning to a 3-4 defense. And his effort and playing temperamentals are elite, so he would fit the scheme of 3-4 for the Lions. So in terms of his college stats, his first year with LSU, he had 2 sacks, 4.5 tackles per loss, and 2 passes defended. His 2018 campaign, he was out after the first game with an ACL injury, so he has a bit of an injury history, which that does raise a red flag. Because we've seen players that come in with previous injuries in college. We've seen it repeat itself in the NFL over and over again. But in his draft year this year, he came back strong, stayed healthy. He had 6.5 sacks, 13.5 tackles for a loss, and 2 passes defended. And oh, by the way, 2 of his 6.5 sacks came in LSU's 60 massive blowout semifinal college football win against Oklahoma. It was the playoff game where Joe Burrow had over 400 passing yards and 7 touchdowns in one half. Jesus Christ, how do you fucking defend that? But yeah, anyway, continuing on though. Caleb Vaughn's weaknesses, despite his great tools, he wasn't all that productive in college. He had the torn ACL, which slowed his development in 2018. So like I said, the ACL is a red flag. He does remain a bit raw, relies heavily on athleticism and unable to finish at times as a result. Doesn't have many inside rush moves at this point. He's just flashing a spin. Chason could also stand to fill out his frame, as his lower body half is a bit slight. He can be moved in the run game when blockers are able to land on him squarely. For teams that want their defensive ends in a 3-point stance, he could require a transition period after he primarily standed up in college. For his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Bud Dupree of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, he has a lot of tools to be successful, but it's a gamble here considering that his injury history in the past. Will it repeat itself? Or will he stay healthy? I mean, his previous college season, he was able to stay healthy and that injury looked like it was a non-factor. For this one, though, he might need time to develop. And I think for the Lions, though, they cannot need a development player. They need someone that's going to make an immediate impact off the bat. Especially with Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn in a win-now ultimatum. So, I mean, it's a gamble if you want to take him. But like I said, it depends on what the Lions do with the 3rd pick or so on. So the final defensive end we're going to go over before we head into the defensive tackles. We have here, hailing from Penn State, standing 6'4", weighed 264 pounds. We have Yetur Gross-Matos. So Yetur, he is your prototype intangibles defensive end, so he can do a lot of things. Has a lot up on the board. His strengths, though, he's a twitchy edge rusher. Length, bursts, and bend every NFL team covets. So currently a bit slimmer than scouts prefer. It's easy to project at least another 10 pounds of muscle onto his lanky frame. So he could bulk up a little bit through time. Anyway, continuing on though. He shows impressive initial bursts off the snap, instantly challenging the corner and forcing tackles on their heels. His best asset is a menagerie of effective counters inside. Makes him a one-man wrecking crew. Excellent coordination between his upper and lower half to slap away at the reach of would-be blockers. Contouring his frame to get skinny and slice through the gap. Occasionally asked to rush and drop out of the 2-point stance. Shows enough balance and agility to handle this role at the next level. Plays like his hair's on fire. Shows terrific effort laterally, downfield in pursuit, including in stalking backs in pursuit down the line of scrimmage. Has splashy tackles for losses. Huge wingspan that gives Uter a massive tackle radius. His past 2 seasons, he's had 17.5 sacks and 35 tackles for loss in his last 2 seasons at Penn State. Some weaknesses, though. He's still growing into his frame and will need to add strength and masses in the lower half to hold up as a full-time defensive end against the run. So yeah, he has a bit of a weight issue, could bulk up. So yeah, the weight issue could raise a red flag. So yeah, he could need time on this one. He's too reliant on quickness to elude blockers in the run game. He can get washed out when targeted, and blockers get into his chest. He shows impressive effort in spinning off blocks and pursuing downfield, but surrenders valuable yardage in doing so. His NFL comparison, he's been compared to DeMarcus Lawrence of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he has a lot of great things here, but he could bulk up. Like, I think he can be effective at the pros, but he may need a couple seasons to develop. So yeah, that's just the risk with this. So anyway, we now move into the defensive tackle. So the first one we have here, hailing out of the University of Auburn, standing 6'4", weighing 318 pounds, we have Derek Brown. So Derek Brown, he is your prototype intangibles, defensive line, defensive tackle. So could do about anything as a nose tackle. For his strengths, he's a bigger, stronger, more athletic than most of his opponents. Boasts intimidating frame with broad shoulders, long arms, evenly distributed muscular culture. It's difficult to move off his spot, overpowering opponents with his raw strength. Using good pad level to maintain his leverage. Can simply overwhelm one-on-one blockers with his ball rush, which he showed on tape against national champions LSU. Terrific initial quickness for a man his size. Quick enough to slip through gaps when not covered. Isn't reliant on his burst, demonstrates sun overarm swim move to complement his athleticism. Uses his length and strength to lasso ball carriers seemingly out of his reach at times. Where am I at here? We're ripping them down with one arm while still occupied by a blocker. Uses his length to disrupt the vision of the quarterbacks with a track record of tipping passes at the line of scrimmage. Exceptional character on and off the field. Returned for his senior season despite a first-round projection last year. He's a member of the SEC Leadership Council and SEC Community Service Team. Was a finalist for the 2018 Jason Wynn Collegiate Man of the Year Award. He's also the president of Auburn's Student Athlete Advisory Council. So he's also a very good past ambassador in the community. So he's really good with the people. So in college for his stats, there they are. So he had 56 tackles in his first year. Had 10.5 tackles for loss and 4.5 sacks. He chose to return this year. So this year he had 107. So he finishes his college career with 170 tackles, 33.5 tackles for a loss, 13 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and 8 pass breakups. So for weaknesses, Brown, he can be a bit of a one-shot per play defender. He likes to explode through the line in impressive fashion, but fails to redirect quickness enough to make the play. Part of it is probably due to being surrounded by so many other talented players in Auburn and that defense. He did not register the numbers his talent suggests, though, so his production was a little bit off, but could improve more. For his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Fletcher Cox of the Philadelphia Eagles, and Fletcher Cox is a very solid player. Derek Brown has all the tools to be successful, but can you get the production out of him and out in the pros? For the Lions, he could be a solid plan B option if the Lions trade too far back and put themselves out of reach for a Chase Young or an Isaiah Simmons. So yeah, he could be a solid option, a solid plan B or C. And that also depends if Jeff Okudah's off the board too. I would consider him maybe, But, you know, it really depends on what happens with the third pick, like I previously mentioned. So the next defensive tackle we're going to go over here, hailing from South Carolina, standing 6'5", weighing 315 pounds, we have Javon Kinlaw. So Javon, he's the prototype pass rushing defensive tackle. So he can get to the quarterback and rush the passer easily. So Javon, his strengths, he has freakish talent, boasting an exceptional combination of size and raw athletic ability. Rare initial burst for a man his size. Consistently surprising opponents with his explosive start off the snap. Proverbial bull in a china shop as a rusher. Rips, spins, and slices his way through contact to wreak havoc. Explosive upper body to extend his arms and shed blockers. Terrific effort in pursuit to the flanks and downfield. Shows off his unique speed. Appears to be just scratching the surface of his potential. He did endure a tough upbringing, including numerous moves and brief homelessness. So he's overcome a lot of adversity. For Javon's stats, though, his first season, you know, he had 35 tackles and 6 sacks. He matured a lot after arriving in 2018. He did have to drop 40 times. He had to drop 40 pounds. So yeah, he had a bit of a weight issue, which that can raise a bit of a red flag. Because can he keep his weight under control in the NFL? But after he dropped the weight, this year, he had 3-year totals of 93 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 10.5 sacks, and 10 pass breakups. So in terms of his weaknesses, though, he's a better athlete than football player. Too often rushing blindly upfield, leaving himself vulnerable to savvy play callers who take advantage of his aggression. Likes to sometimes play with blinders on, and is susceptible to delays like draws and screen running right past him. Among the most explosive player in the country, but he lacks functional football strength at times. Loses the leverage battle and fails to protect his chest. Knocked to the ground too often for a player of his talent. Possesses the frame to suggest that he could handle 5 tech duties as a traditional 3-4 defensive end. But is more of a penetrator than a blocker at this point. You know, by the way, folks, a lot of experts have listed him as a player that could disappoint at the pros. So he has been listed as someone that could be a potential bust in the draft if you don't utilize him right, or you put him in a scheme he doesn't fit, period. So he's the biggest boom or bust player in this draft. For his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, he has a lot of talent and a lot of skills. But, you know, the weight issue is a bit of a red flag. Like, it's high risk. Like, it's high risk taking him, knowing that it could completely blow up in your face. But if you utilize him correctly, the high risk could equal a high reward. So, yeah, it would be a gamble to take him. So the next defensive tackle we'll go over, we have hailing from Utah, standing 6'5", weighing 330 pounds. We have Lexi Fotu. So Lexi, he's your prototype run defensive tackle, so he's really good at stuffing the run. So for his strengths, he's a natural massive man, broad shoulders and tree trunks for limbs. Surprisingly quick off the snap, demonstrates enough initial bursts to split gaps if left uncovered. His greatest asset is his raw size and strength combination. Allows him to eat up blockers while teammates wreak havoc. Lexi, he isn't just country strong. He's technically sound, utilizes an effective push-pull technique to wrench himself free. He's as well as an effective overarm swim move. He may not test well in the 40-yard dash, which is what a lot of people value in a player at when assessing a prospect, and especially at the combine. That's like the biggest drill in the combine is the 40-yard dash. But he shows an impressive short area burst to close when the ball is near. He arrives with bad intentions, exploding into ball carries to create eye-popping collisions. He's scheme versatile, so he can fit almost any scheme here. In terms of his stats, he's had all Pac-12 honors his past 2 years. He's helped Utah win the Pac-12 South title in both years. He's also had second-team All-American honors as a senior. In his senior year, he had 9 tackles for a loss, and with 29 stops. His overall college career, he had 85 tackles, 18 for loss, and 4.5 sacks. For his weaknesses, though, while quicker and more agile than he looks, no one's going to mistake him as a consistent pass rush threat. So he really isn't that good at rushing the passer. He's good at stuffing the run, though. So too often loses the leverage advantage, appears content with holding up at the point of attack and waiting for the ball to come toward him. So he likes to just wait for the carrier to come instead of going down the field and getting him. Too often he fails to use his length effectively to make an impact in the passing or the kicking game when you have to return the punt. So he is a bit of a one-trick pony, but he's really good at the one trick he can do. For his NFL comparison, he has been compared to Eddie Goldman of the Chicago Bears. So, I mean, no, there is potential he could fall in a second. It really depends on a lot of teams. And the Lions badly need a defensive tackle. Like, he has a lot of comparisons to be the next Snacks Harrison. Because we need someone to fill Snacks Harrison's spot with Snacks Harrison now gone. So, maybe depending on what the Lions do with the 3rd pick or what happens in the 2nd round, maybe someone to keep an eye on. But, yeah. So the final defensive tackle, the final defensive lineman we're going to go over in this video, the last big name in this draft for defensive lineman prospects we're going to go over, of course. Hailing from Alabama, standing 6'6", weighing 312 pounds, we have Raekwon Davis. So Raekwon Davis, he's your prototype tackling defensive tackle, so he's really good at tackling and getting the ball carrier down and getting the quarterback down. So for Raekwon, his strengths, though, he's among the most physically imposing player in the country, blessed with rare height, broad shoulders, muscular vines for arms that he uses with great effectiveness to corral opponents, shows impressive initial quickness off the snap, challenges tackles outside shoulder when operating on the edge. When he plays inside, his quickness can surprise would-be blockers. Shows impressive strength and an effective push-pull technique to rip himself free, clouding the vision of quarterbacks. Despite his height, his raw power and length make him an effective two-gapper. Frame and rugged game make him position and scheme diverse. His career production in college in a trend in a positive direction. And as a sophomore, he had 69 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 8.5 sacks. He had declining totals in all 3 in 2018 and 2019. Although there's much more to his areas, he did earn second-team All-SEC honors in each of his past 2 seasons for an elite program. For his weaknesses, though, Raekwon, he does lack sustained speed or flexibility to dip around the edge and close on quarterbacks as a traditional edge rusher. He's a bit straight-line in his movements. Like a lot of defensive linemen of his size, has to gear down to change directions. Despite being frequently substituted for on Alabama's deep defensive line, because Alabama's defensive line has always been one of the best in college. Like, that defensive line is always loaded with talent. It's always loaded. He does show inconsistent effort to the flanking pursuits. He does come with character red flags, most notably the background behind Raekwon suffering a gunshot wound to his leg in the early mornings of August 27, 2017, outside of a Tuscaloosa bar. He reportedly was uncooperative with police. Following the incident, the bar owner publicly suggested that the player accidentally shot himself. So yeah, that is a bit of a red flag, because that could suggest that he is a bit of a fucking idiot. Like, seriously, why the fuck? Like, if he did shoot himself, why the fuck would he do that? Like, that makes no goddamn sense. So yeah, there's red flags there. For his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Henry Anderson of the New York Jets. So yeah, and also the gunshot wound to his leg, that was also an injury, so that also raises another red flag. Because will he have leg issues throughout his career? Could that be a recurring theme in the NFL level? So yeah, there's a lot of red flags. If you're taking him, you're taking a gamble on him. So, Yeah, and the fact that he was unable to cooperate with the police, it really raises a lot of question marks. Like, he has a lot of potential to be a top player in the NFL. But can you look past those other issues, those red flags? Like, it's high risk, but if you use him right, could be high reward. Well, yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up here for this NFL draft preview as we previewed the top defensive lineman prospects in this draft. So, yeah, there are some other big names in this draft, too, other than Chase Young. I mean, like I said, if Chase Young falls to the Lions at 3, take him immediately. Don't even think twice. I mean, the Redskins should take Chase Young at 2. But there's been questions that the Redskins may not take him. Like, there's been questions that the Redskins could trade out of the second pick to a team that wants Tua at quarterback. And there's been questions that the Redskins could take Tua at number 2 to try and challenge Dwayne Haskins. Like, the one thing I don't stand is, why would you take a quarterback in the first round, especially after you drafted one last year? Like, when you're giving up on a rookie quarterback after one season, somebody fucked up the scouting report. I'm just going to say that right there. Plus, new Redskins head coach Ron Rivera has gone out and said that Dwayne Haskins is not his guy. So yeah, that raised a lot of question marks. So yeah, the second overall pick in this year's draft, it has about as much intrigue and interest as the number 3 pick in the draft. Like, realistically, Chase Young should go number 2. He should go number 2. But there's always that chance, that slim chance, the Redskins could drink a shitload of mercury and pass on Chase Young and he falls to the Lions at 3. And really, what the Lions could do with other prospects, it really depends on what the Lions do with the 3rd pick if they take Chase Young or Isaiah Simmons or if they trade back. So yeah, there's a lot of interest. Like, we're not really going to know what Lions truly do come draft day within the next month and a half at the end of April. If we still have to draft in Las Vegas due to that goddamn coronavirus outbreak. Fuck me, this coronavirus outbreak is ruining everything. God help us all. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. I'll see you in the next draft preview, which will also be another defensive preview. And I think this defensive one, I think it's one you're all gonna I think it's the one you've been looking forward to the most. The one that has probably the best player in this draft, the most complete player. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. I don't want to spoil it. So yeah, that's for next time. So yeah, anyway, that's all I gotta say. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button. And if you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for more of this content. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up here. That's all I gotta say. Hope everyone's a great day, and yeah, peace out.